Thanks for joining us for our second week of the Stretch and Strengthen exercise class. This is our low impact exercise series. So anything we do in the class today will be based on lots of stretching, lots of amplitude type exercises with rest breaks in between. So hopefully you were all here for last class. You kind of know how the class is going to go. If at any point today you want to have a break, please feel free to take the breaks and listen to your body. You don't have to follow along to the same speed if you need a couple of minutes to just rest. The session today is recorded, so after the session is done, we can upload the video onto our YouTube channel and onto our website, so that if anyone does want to revisit the class in the future, you can do so. You'll probably see on your right-hand side, there is a chat box. The chat box is what you're going to use today if you did have any questions or you wanted to communicate with us. If you don't see a chat box on your right-hand side, it might be in a little circle icon at the bottom of your screen, which looks like a chat icon. If you click on it, the chat box will pop up, and you can use that to ask us any questions throughout the session today. At the very top of the chat box, you'll also see that I pinned at the very top the website link for Superwalk. So as we mentioned last time, Superwalk is happening on September the 12th and the 13th. And this year it is a virtual walk because of the pandemic. If you'd like to find out more information about the Superwalk or you would like to register, you can click on the link at the top of the chat box and it'll take you to the Superwalk website. But just make sure you do that at the end of the webinar, because I think you'll actually close the webinar page if you do click on it right now. Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for being here with us today. You can see here that I've got a platform set up behind me. So the class is going to start in sitting and we'll move to a standing position for the remainder of the class. But of course, if you would like to sit for the entire duration of the class, that's absolutely fine as well. I'll be showing you some modifications if you did want to stay seated for the class. And ideally, you should be sitting in a chair that doesn't have armrests, just so that way when we start moving, you're not going to accidentally hit your elbow or hit your arm. But if you did only have a chair with armrests, that's okay as well, as long as you're just a little bit mindful of your movements as we go along so that you don't accidentally hurt yourself as we're moving. Okay, great. We're going to get started. So hopefully you can all hear me and you can all see me. If you did have any questions during the session, please feel free to type in the chat box. I won't be able to read them till the very end of the session because I will be moving with you, but I do have my colleague Amy here today who's going to be monitoring the chat box. So if you did have any tech issues or any questions, she can help address them as well during the webinar. And the last thing I wanted to mention is if at any point the audio is frozen or the video is frozen, you can try refreshing the browser, and that usually does the trick to help fix any of those technical difficulties. Okay, great. I'm going to move back and we can get started. Okay, so hopefully you can still all hear me while I'm at the back of the room. We're going to start in sitting, have our feet flat on the floor. We're going to sit up nice and tall, thinking about lengthening the spine towards the ceiling. And we're going to drop our arms by our side. We're going to start by taking some deep breath in and doing some arm circles like this. So we're crossing the arms and sweeping up for the breath in. And lowering the arms for the breath out. If you're having issues with your shoulders and you can't reach all the way up, you can always reach forward and bring your arms down. Let's do 2 more here. Good, and we're going to reverse the arms and crossing them down. Sitting nice and tall. One more. time, we're going to place our hands onto our chest with your elbows up, shoulders down. We're going to open up the arms and rotate our breastbone to one side of the room. And then you bring your arms back and your breastbone back to the middle. Same thing, other side, twisting your body to one side as you open those arms up and twisting your body back in. Trying to sit up as tall as we possibly can as we're twisting. Just bring some movement into our torso. Shoulders down if you can. Good. Let's do a couple more here. See if you can twist a little bit further each time you move. Good. We're going to lower those arms down. We're going to float these arms out to the side, and then we're going to float them over into a bit of a diagonal. So one arm is up, one arm is down. The arm should form a straight line. From here, we're going to draw some circles here. So some nice small circles with those arms. And with every circle, we're going to try to make each circle smaller and smaller until we're in a very small pulsing circular type motion. And we're going to hold this movement here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to circle in the other direction. So again here, we're making the circle smaller and smaller until we're circling the arms in a small pulsating type movement for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Good. We're going to float both arms up, and we're going to tip them in the other direction this time. So still having one arm up, one arm down, but in the opposite direction this time. And we're going to circle the arms back again, drawing those nice small circles. And with each circle, you're going to make the movement smaller and smaller until we're doing a sort of a small pulsating type movement for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the other way. You're going to circle forward this time, starting with your small circles and then making them smaller and smaller with each repetition until you're in a small pulsating type circular movement for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Well done. Okay, we're going to do a trunk stretch. We're going to bring those arms back out, and this time we're going to tip our body to one side. So what you're doing here is you're almost trying to reach one hand to the ground and one hand to the ceiling to stretch that one side of your torso. And as we're stretching here, we're going to make sure our breastbone is facing forward so that we're not turning down, but we're still keeping our chest open in front of us. Good. Coming back up. You can drop those arms for a second if you like, and bring them back up to stretch to the other side. So really thinking about opening those arms, opening those chest muscles, keeping that breastbone facing forward. Good. Coming back up and dropping those arms. Good. Next, we're going to place our hands on our hips just so we can get our hands out the way. And we're going to sit up nice and tall, thinking about the spine elongating to the ceiling. And you're going to drop those shoulders down away from your ears. And we're going to do some ankle movement. So we're going to lift up the heels on both of our feet. Bring it back down. Lift up the toes and bring it back down. Lift up the heels
back down, lift up the toes, and back down. Good. And as we're circulating through this movement, we're going to make sure we're still sitting up nice and tall. So we're not going to start to slouch as we're moving the ankles. We're still going to think about elongating the spine towards the ceiling, almost like you're balancing a book on your head and you want to keep it there and you want to remain the same height the whole time. Good. Let's do a few more here. Really lifting up those heels as high as they'll go. And then lifting up the toes as high as they'll go. One more. Good, that's it. And rest. Okay. Going to drop the arms by our side. And we're going to start by popping one heel off the floor. And then popping the other heel off the floor. So we're pedaling through our feet. We'll bring one heel off the floor and then the other. So you're alternating between the feet in this sort of pedaling type motion of your ankles. Good. Sitting up nice and tall as you're pedaling through the ankles. And we're going to start to add the arms. You're going to lift up the opposite arm to the leg. That's lifting up of the heel, and then you're going to pedal through your feet in opposition like so. So opposite arm to the leg, that's being popped. Sitting up nice and tall, coordinating the arms and legs. If your shoulders are a bit of an issue for you and you can't lift your arm up very high, that's okay. You can lift them up forward in front of you, or even lower if you like. As long as we're still coordinating the opposite arm and the leg, doesn't matter how high your arms go. And as you're doing this, see if you can try to make the movement as continuous as you can so that you're never really stopping at any point, but the movement continues and you're just arriving in one position and then you start moving in the other direction again. Trying to move continuously if you can. Let's go for 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, this time we're going to warm up our knees and we're going to straighten one leg up in front of you, almost like you're trying to show me the bottom of your foot, really straightening that knee and then bringing it back down. We're going to repeat on the other side, straightening the knee, showing me the bottom of your foot, and then lowering back down. Good. So we're just going to alternate the legs, trying to straighten the knees. And as we're doing that, we're going to make sure we're sitting up nice and tall. So we're not slouching every time we straighten the knee, but you want to sit right over your sit bones. Be as tall as you can possibly be as you're straightening the knees. Good. We're going to add the arms now as we're moving through this movement. So now what you're going to do is you're going to imagine you dipped your arms all the way up to your shoulder into some paint. So you dip both arms into paint and you're going to flick the paint off of you in front onto a blank canvas. You're flicking the paint onto a blank canvas in front of you. Every time you kick your leg out, you're going to flick those arms in front of you as hard as you can without hurting yourself, but as hard as you can to try to flick that imaginary paint off of your arms. Good. Let's go for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and rest. Well done. Okay. We're going to do a bit of the inner thigh stretch now. So we're going to separate those legs as wide as you're comfortable. And we're going to sit up as tall as we can, keeping our back nice and straight. We're going to hinge forward from the hips until you feel a stretch in your inner thigh. So if you curl your back, you won't feel the stretch as much. So you want to sit up as tall as you can be. Keep the back as straight as possible, and then you hinge forward. So because both of your legs are bent and wide, you'll feel it on both sides. But if you wanted to bias one side, you can straighten one of your knees, and then you do exactly the same thing, hinging forward, and you'll feel it on the straightened leg a little bit more. So it's entirely up to you if you want to do both legs at the same time, or if it's too uncomfortable and you want to try one leg at a time, that's absolutely fine as well, as long as you're sitting straight, hinging forward from the hips with your back straight. Good. I'm going to change to the other side for those of you who are doing one leg at a time. Making sure you're breathing as you're stretching. We're not holding our breath. Good. Let's do one more here with both legs bent, keeping your back straight, hinging forward at the hips with your back still straight. Let's hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and sitting back up. Okay. We're going to keep our legs a little bit wide, so a bit wider than hip width apart, but not quite as wide as what we were doing just now in our stretches. We're going to reach our hands down as far as you can. If you can touch the floor, touch the floor. If you can only touch your knees or your shins or your ankle, that's fine as well. Go as low as you can. Let your head hang down. And then from here, you're going to sit back up. Open the chest, lean back into the back of the chair if you have one, to stretch the upper back and open up the chest. And we go down again, letting our arms hang, letting our head hang down. And then we're going to sit back up, open the chest, lean back, open the ribs, open the chest muscles. Good. And again, reaching down, letting your arms hang, letting the head hang. And then we're sitting back up, opening the arms out to the side, leaning back, opening that chest, enjoying that open stretch. Last one, leaning down as far as you can towards the floor or your ankles. And then you're reaching out last time, big open stretch of the chest and the back. And rest. Good. Now, for those of you who want to transition to standing, we're going to practice our sit to stands. For those of you who want to stay seated, you're just going to do some bum lifts like this, where you're bringing your chest over. So imagine someone's pulling your t-shirt and they're pulling you forward over your feet, and you're bringing your weight over the legs to lift the bottom, and then you're lowering it back down. So emphasis on the forward. So we don't want to be keeping our chest back like this. We want to lean forward in order to clear our bottom off the seat and then lower back down. So for those who want to stay seated, you're going to do these kind of bum lifts. For those who want to stand, we're going to practice our sit to stand in exactly the same way. Imagine someone's pulling your t-shirt over in front of you. Bring your weight forward over your feet, and then you're going to push down into the floor with your legs, pushing the floor away from you, sticking your hips forward to stand. And then we're going to do the same thing sitting down, bending those knees, chest forward, and sitting back down. Okay, so we're going to do 6 of them together, whether you're doing your bum lifts or you're doing a full sit to stand. Emphasis on the chest forward. Okay, are we ready? Here we go. Number 1, bring your hips forward, bring your chest forward, push the floor away from you, stick your bottom forward to stand. And then we sit back down, chest coming forward. Good. Here's number 2. Leaning forward, chest forward, push the floor away from you to stand. And then chest forward to come back down. Really make sure we're not afraid to hinge at the hips. Here's number 3. Pushing those hips forward as you're standing, and then pushing those hips back, chest forward as you're sitting back down. Good. Here's number 4. Chest forward, push the floor away from you, stick your bottom muscles forward, and then stick them back, chest forward to sit back down. Good. 2 left. Keep going. This is number 5. Pushing the floor away from you. That's it. And then chest forward, hips back to sit back down. Good. Last one. Last one. We're going to stay standing at the top. Good. And rest. Okay. For those who are sitting down, stay seated. I'm going to show the standing exercises first, and then I'm going to sit down and show you the seated exercise. So we're going to do some lateral squats to start with. So we're going to start with our feet together, or as close together as you feel comfortable. They don't have to be touching, but they need to be a little bit closer together. From here, you're going to step out with one of your legs, doesn't matter which one, and then you're going to squat and raise your arms up, and then you're going to bring that same leg back in. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, stepping out, squatting down, floating the arms forward, stand back up, bring the leg back in. Okay, so from the side, your squats should look like this, sending your hips backwards, knees over toes, almost like you're about to sit down in a chair, and then come back up. So we're going to mix the arms up a little bit. So we're going to do 2 with the arms forward, and then 2 with the arms out to the side. So like this, stepping out, squatting, arms forward, bring the leg back in. Other side, stepping out, squatting, bring the arms forward, and coming back in. Then we do the same thing with the legs, but our arms go out to the side, chest up, coming back in. Same thing on the other side, arms up to the side and back in. And then we go back to the forward one again. If you're sitting down, you're going to do exactly the same thing except without the squat. So you're going to bring your feet in together, sitting up nice and tall. You're going to step out to the side and float the arms up in front of you without losing that height. So you want to sit nice and tall, and then bring the leg back in. Same thing, other side, float the arm up, bring the leg out, bring the leg back in. And then again, this time with the arms open to the side, bringing the leg out, bringing the leg in. Other side, opening, bring the arms out to the side, bring them back in. And then we repeat again, going forward 2 times with the arms, going out to the side 2 times with the arms, okay? Okay, we're gonna try this. Ready? Here we go. Start with the feet together, step out to the side, a little bit of a squat, float the arms forward, stand back up, bring the leg in. That's it. Stepping out the other side, squatting, sending the bottom back, floating the arms up, coming back in. Good. Same thing with the legs. This time the arms flow out to the side, chest up, stand back up, bring the leg in. That's it. Other side. Sending the hips back, almost like you're sitting in a chair, and bring the leg back. Good. Same thing again. Arms floating forward, bring the leg in. Other side. Arms floating forward, bring the leg in. This time, arms floating out to the side. Good. Bring the leg in. Arms floating out to the side. Bring the leg in. Good. See if we can do 4 more. Here we go. 4. Good. That's it. 3. See if you can get lower each time if you can. 2. Good. Last one. 1. And rest. Good. Well done, everybody. We're going to bring our legs a little bit further apart now. So about hip width apart, maybe a bit wider. And we're just going to do some stretches to release the hip after that. Arms down by our side. We're going to push our hips over to one side, reach the arms up in the opposite direction, feeling that pull through the outside of the hip, chest forward, and then come back to the middle. Same thing, other side. Push the hips to one side, reach the arms in the opposite direction, almost like you're making a sort of crescent shape. Chest forward, coming back to the middle. If you're sitting down, same thing. Push the ribs over to one side, almost like a crescent shape that you're making. Come back to the middle. Same thing on the other side. Chest facing forward, so make sure we're not turning this way. Keep your breastbone forward, and then bring the arms down. Keep going. I'm going to keep showing the standing version. If your shoulders are hurting you and you can't reach all the way up, that's okay. Reach the arms across. You can make it lower if you need. As long as you're still reaching the arms in the opposite direction, pushing the hips or the ribs, depending on whether you're standing or sitting, in the opposite direction. Good. Let's do 4 more here. Really enjoy this stretch. Should feel quite nice. 3 more. Good. Well done. 2 more. Making sure that we're still breathing. Good, well done. And rest. Okay, our next one, we're gonna do a little bit of movement into the back of our legs. So I'm gonna stand sideways to show you. You're gonna bring one leg out in front of you, bend the back knee, straighten the front knee, and you're going to sweep the arms down towards the toes on the straight leg, and then you're going to reach all the way back up. And then same thing on the other side. Bring that leg straight forward, bend the back knee, keep the front knee straight, sweep your fingers along that leg, and bring it back in. So we're stretching the back of our thigh, but also gaining a little bit of mobility into the hips. If your shoulders are hurting you and you can't lift your arms all the way up, that's okay. Sweep forward and just bring the arms back, or you can sweep and bring the arms as high as you feel comfortable, and then just bring them down. If you're sitting down, same thing. You're gonna straighten one of your legs, hinge forward at the hips, sweep along the leg, bring it back in. Same thing on the other side, sweeping forward and bring it back in. Okay, we're gonna keep going here. So same thing as before, you're going to try to continuously move. So it's almost like you never want to quite stop moving. So even if you're getting to the end of your stretch, you're just arriving before you start moving in the opposite direction again. So you're continuously trying to move the whole time, trying to keep the same speed with your arms and legs. So you're not accelerating and you're not decelerating either. Trying to keep exactly the same speed throughout the entire movement if you can. Let's do 4 more. We go 4, 3. Good, well done everyone. Last 2. Last 1. And rest. Good. How are we all doing? Hopefully good. Okay, we're going to bring those legs apart. I want you to bring them a little bit wider than hip width apart, or if you're not comfortable with that, hip width apart is okay as well. We're going to reach the arms open. So ideally, it's almost like you're in a little bit of an asymmetrical X shape because your legs are a little bit more narrow than your arms. And we're going to practice a little bit of our balance here. So with the legs apart, you're going to bring the opposite elbow to the opposite knee, like this. And then come back to this asymmetrical X shape. So bringing the elbow to the opposite knee, balancing, and then coming back to the X shape. Now, if you're somebody who finds this really hard to balance, you can hold on to something as you're doing this. That's fine as well. Hold on to something else on the other side. It's entirely up to you, as long as we're trying to keep our chest up. And the purpose of this movement here is we control this twisting motion of our torso without collapsing forward, without losing our balance. So you're trying to keep nice and tall. So notice here how the top of my head stays relatively the same height. So I got to really hike that knee up nice and tall, but my head is staying around the same height. Now, if you're sitting down, same thing, arms up. If your shoulders hurt you, don't bring them so far up. You can bring them out to the side as well. That's fine. And then you're going to bring the elbow to the knee. So you're twisting the torso without slouching. So you're still sitting up nice and tall as you're twisting the torso to bring the elbow to the knee. Okay? Okay, we're going to do it together. Let's see if we can go for 8. Here we go. 1. Really controlling the abdominal muscles, twisting the back, keeping the same height if you can. Good. Here's number 2. Imagine you're balancing a book on your head. Here's number 3. 4. Keep nice and tall if you can. That's it. Well done. Here's 5. Are we still breathing? 6. Good. 2 left. Here's 7. 1 more. Here's 8. And rest. Good. Well done. Get a drink of water if you need, or if you want to have a bit of a break, that's absolutely fine as well. I'm just going to show you the next exercise before we start doing it together. So the next one here, you're going to work on a little bit of stability as you turn. So we're going to have the feet about hip width apart, maybe a bit wider, depending on what you're comfortable with. We're going to clench our hands into fists. We're going to tuck the elbows into our side like this, okay, with your palm facing up like this, okay? So not down, palm up. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you the legs first. You're going to imagine your entire body is very stiff. It's almost like you're like one of those toy soldiers. Do you know what I mean? The green little toy soldiers you see in Toy Story, and their feet are stuck in one place and their body is stuck in one place. So you're going to imagine that's who you are. And you're going to lead the movement with your breastbone. You're going to turn to one side. Notice here how my feet are pointing the direction I'm turning, and then you're going to bring it back to the middle. So you're kind of pivoting on your toes a little bit. We're going to go to the other side, breastbone leading the movement. Notice here how my feet, my toes are pointing the direction I'm going, and then I'm coming back to the middle. Okay, so the movement is like this with the feet. You're pivoting like so. Okay, now the arms, as you're doing the pivoting, the arm that's forward is going to punch forward like so. So you're going from here, you're punching forward, and then as you return to the middle, you bring the arms back to this position. Other side, you turn and you punch with the outside arm, and then you bring it back in. So essentially, you're punching to either side as you're turning the feet, and your body is straight, so there's no rotation in the torso, but you're working on staying balanced as you change directions like that, okay? If you're sitting down, very similar, feet forward, arms into your side, bent, hands and fists, and your palms should be up, so the inside of your forearm should be up. Now, when you're sitting, is of course harder for you to turn, but you have 2 options here. If you're quite agile in your chair, as you turn, you can try to turn the toes to one side and punch like this, where you turn the toes and punch. You can see my toes are going the direction of my punch. Or if that's too difficult, don't worry, keep your feet where they are, and you're just going to rotate the torso and you're gonna punch out to the side like this, okay? So either just punching and sitting, or turn your toes the same way that you're going, okay? Okay, we're gonna do this together. Let's see here if we can try to go for 10 of these. We're gonna go nice and slow. Are we ready? Standing up nice and tall, toes pointing forward. Here we go. We're turning to one side, punching, and coming back. So the slower the better here, except for the punch, because I want to work on the balance here. So when you're here in this position, just hold it for a second and then bring it back in. See how rigid you can make your body. So I know normally we always say, well, we want to stretch the torso. We don't want to promote rigidity in someone with Parkinson's, but in this exercise's example, we do want to be rigid because we're working on our balance stability here. So keep your body as rigid as you can. Make the movement as sharp as you can. So you're really pivoting on those toes to bring the toes towards the direction of your punch. So notice my toes are pointing in the same direction as my punch. Good, keep going. This is number 6. I haven't forgotten, I've been counting. 7. Good. 8. Let's do 2 more. 9. Last one. 10. Come back to the middle and relax. Good, well done. Okay, we're going to continue working on the back of our hips and the back of our thighs in the next exercise. I'm just going to turn sideways so you can see me. So my legs are about hip width distance apart, and I'm going to stand and bend my knees a little bit. So I bent my knees a bit, so maybe 30 degrees, 40 degrees, something like that. And the purpose here is you're going to try to keep the same angle of your knees throughout the entire movement. So you're going to make sure when your knees are bent like this, imagine they're stuck like that, like cement. You're not going to straighten them more. You're not going to bend them more. So you have a small bend, keep them that angle the whole time. Now, keeping your back straight, hands stacked on top of one another, back straight, you're going to hinge forward at the hips to bring those arms towards the floor on a diagonal, and then you're going to stand back up. So notice if you look at my knees here, I know I'm wearing dark pants, so I'm not sure if you can see clearly, but my knees here, you can see as I'm bending forward, my knees are staying the same. Can you see the angle of my knees are not changing? And then I'm coming back up. So you're going as far as you can, keeping that back straight if you can, keeping that balance, coming back up. So what we're working on here is the back of the thigh should be firing as you're moving through here. If you can't go that low, that's okay. A little bit is okay, as long as you're trying to keep the back straight, hinging forward at the hips and coming back up, okay? If you're sitting down, you can't quite do that movement of bending the knees because your knees are already bent, but we're going to still stack the hands on top of the other, keep your back nice and straight, and you're going to hinge forward at the hips without losing your balance and coming back up. So legs a little bit wide, sitting nice and tall over the sit bones, hinge forward from the hips, keep that balance, and then coming back up like this, okay? So if you're sitting down, you're doing that movement like this. I'm going to show you the standing version again. We're going to do it together. Let's see if we can go for 10 together. Going to bend those knees slightly, hands stacked on top, back nice and straight, making sure the back is straight the whole time, and you're hinging at the hips. Here we go. 1. Good. 2. 3, keeping the knees in the same angle if you can, hinging forward at the hips, back straight. 4, 5, and making sure as you come back up, you're squeezing the bum cheeks together to push that pelvis forward. Good. Here's 6, Squeezing the bum cheeks to come back up if you're standing. 7. If you're sitting down, making sure your back is nice and straight. You're only moving from the hips. Good. Here's number 8. Trying to keep that balance. Good. Last 2. Good. Well done. Last 1. You're almost there. Keep those knees the same angle. Good, and relax. Well done. You can shake out your legs if you like. You might have felt like the back of your leg was on fire a little bit or was stretching a lot. Either way, it's good. We're getting some movement into them. Okay, our next one, we're just gonna slow our body down a little bit and continue on with the stretching component. Keeping our feet about hip width apart, dropping the arms by the side. We're going to bend the knees slightly and bring the hands up behind our head, and then we're going to stand back up. So notice here how as I'm doing this movement, my elbows are staying in sort of a parallel line to the floor. So I'm not lifting them up, but I'm keeping my elbows in a parallel line. And you'll see here my shoulders are really far away from my ears, so I'm not like this. I'm keeping the shoulders down the whole time. Some gentle bends. Bring the hands behind our head. If you're sitting down, same thing, except without the bend. We're just going to bring the hands up without lifting those shoulders up. Keep the shoulders down and bring the hands back down. So exactly the same if you're sitting, just without the knee bend. Okay, let's keep going. Bending those knees. Bring the hands behind the head, shoulders down, and standing back up. Good. Breathing. That's it. Well done. On the next one, we're going to add a little bit of a spine twist. So exactly same movement, except as you bring the hands up behind the head and your knees are bent, you're twisting your chest to one side, and then you're returning back to the middle. Good. Other side. So this movement should be very smooth. And you should be twisting the torso as you bring your hands behind the head and as you're bending those knees and twisting back as you're straightening the knees and bring the hands back down. So if you're sitting, same thing, twisting to one side as you bring the arms up, and then twisting back to the middle as you bring your arms down. And here, when I'm doing this movement, I'm trying to keep my palm and hands nice and wide. So you give your fingers and hands a little bit of a stretch and a little bit of a tension as well. Keep going. Let's go for 6. Good. See if you can twist a little bit more with each repetition. 5. That's it. You got it. 4. 3. 2. Good. Last one. And rest. Good. Bring our legs nice and far apart. We're going to bring both of our hands to the outside of one leg, and we're going to shift our weight to the side that we're bringing our hands to. And from here, we're going to draw a big arc up and over with our hands and bring our hands to the other side, to the outside of the other leg. And as I'm doing that, you can see here, I'm transferring my weight through my legs to the side that my arms are going. Imagine you're drawing a big rainbow across the sky here, and that's sort of a big arc type movement. Now, if your shoulders are hurting you, please feel free to sweep forward as you're transferring your weight, same thing, or you can lift them up as high as they'll go. It's entirely up to you. Same with sitting, hands on one side. You're going to go up and over. Notice here how I'm transferring my weight to the other leg. I'm going up and over, transferring my weight again to the opposite leg. So I'm transferring my weight and transferring my weight as I'm reaching in this big arc movement. I'm going to stand back up again. So just do this in your own time. You can do it slower or faster if you'd like, whatever feels better in your body today. The purpose here is you're drawing as big of an arc as you can, moving as big and as wide as you can as you're transferring your weight from side to side. Good. See if you can do 4 more in your own time. Good, well done. Good, and we'll rest when you're done, okay? Gonna drop our arms down by our side. We're gonna do one last breathing pattern together. We're going to sweep the arms down across, bend those knees, breathe in, reach up and over, and breathe out. Same thing. Sweeping down, cross those arms, reach up as far as you can, or reach forward if your shoulders are hurting you, and bring it back down. Keep going. Same thing in sitting, reaching across and up. Crossing those arms to breathe in, and opening to breathe out. Let's do 3 more. Really feel this opening of the chest. Good. 2 more. And out. Last one. And out. And rest. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. That is the end of our second Stretch and Strengthen Low Impact Exercise series. I hope you've all enjoyed your time here. The session was recorded, so it will go on our website at some point, maybe next week, if you would like to check back. Has anyone got any questions about anything? Any comments? No, I hope you're all still with us. So if you do have any suggestions for things you would like to see in the future in terms of our webinar classes, or even for this class, please feel free to either write in the chat box, or you can drop us an email, which is info@parkinson.bc.ca, and we would love to hear your feedback, so we can always implement some of those things. Oh, thank you, Amy, for typing the email. So the email address is typed in the chat box. We would love to hear your comments and your thoughts, and it'll help us target our sessions a little bit better in the future. Great. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for your wonderful comments. We are reading them. So we'll see you back here again next week, same time, same place, for the third class of the series. We've got 2 more after today. We've got the 3rd class and the 4th class before the series is done. So do come back next week, and we will see you then. And in the meantime, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to drop us an email. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you, Amy, for helping us monitor the chat box. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.